Have you seen any starter homes for sale lately? Neither have I. Hello, and welcome to the Who Killed the Starter Home podcast. My name is Marina Rubina. I'm an architect and developer in New Jersey, working to bring starter homes back from the brink of extinction. On this podcast, we usually focus on housing policy, but we're taking some time to host special conversations with the candidates running for New Jersey's 12th congressional district. While our listeners outside of New Jersey may not care about this specific election, they may be fascinated to hear that we have 17 courageous people putting themselves in the spotlight and offering their vision and ideas for the future of their country. Housing issues are inevitably coming up, so we aren't straying too far off topic. In this episode, I spoke with Shanel Robinson, whose journey from maintaining fighter jets in the military to leading Somerset County as Commissioner Director is rooted in a deep-seated desire to serve. Our conversation focused on her emotional and moral commitment to do right by the people. We explore her transition to county leadership and her dedication to bringing compassion and heart to help her neighbors and those in need. Please note that the views expressed by the candidates are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinion of this podcast. Given the nature of these long-form interviews, we cannot independently fact-check every claim made during this conversation. We encourage listeners to research the candidates and issues as we approach the primary. We would like to hear what you think about this conversation, or if you have any ideas for how to bring the starter homes back from the brink of extinction, send us a note at starterhomepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us today, Shanel. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. And also, I really appreciate that we have such an incredible race in our New Jersey's 12th district. We have 17 candidates. This is so unusual, but also the hope for these conversations is to give people a chance to really kind of see beyond the 1 minute snippet, right?
Yes.
Because it's so hard when there's 17 people in a forum to have a meaningful conversation.
Yes.
My hope is that we can spend a little bit of time together and you get to share your thoughts and your ideas. I'm hoping that you could start out by sharing a little bit about your story and what made you so brave to decide to go in this race?
Well, I'm a military veteran, and I served as an avionics guidance and control system specialist. Basically, I was an aircraft mechanic, and I worked on fighter jets. So I served in the military for 8 years. What made me get into this race? I'm currently Somerset County Commissioner Director. Helped to turn Somerset County from red to blue. And what made me decide to jump in this race, congressional race, is because I've been studying or at the feet of Bonnie Watson Coleman for about 5 years now, shadowing her, learning from her. Just like in the military, you go to basic training, you go to AIT, which is your school for whatever your job is. And so I took that same type of precision, discipline, and accountability to develop, learn, and grow in this space to one day follow in the footsteps of Bonnie Watson Coleman. And so it's not lost on me that the work that is done as being a public servant is one that I often say is not hard work, but heart work. And so I think it's just another level or higher calling of service than to, progress to the next level. I've been an elected official for 10 years. So again, I'm not new on the scene, and I've been preparing and planning for whatever my next would be. Not for the title, but certainly to be able to take my skills and my experience that will best suit whatever my customers and or constituents may be. And so now I believe I have a proven track record to be that representative for the residents of District 12. You know, I often take that experience in the military taught me precision, discipline, and accountability, like I said, and I am able to bring that level of service or standard to public service in whatever I do.
Well, let's start out by saying thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And pardon my silly question, but I've always wondered, can you explain what a county commissioner does? Because I always wonder this, that maybe everybody else knows, but I don't think so, because we understand what your local town does. We understand what the state does. We hope we understand what the federal government does. But I am lost on the role of the county. So, do you mind?
No, I don't, and you're not alone. So a county commissioner oversees county assets such as your county roads and bridges, county parks, all of your wraparound services such as health and human services, social services, youth services, senior services, veteran services. And I likened it to the mayor and council of a town just at the county level. So we're the council at the county level.
Right. So the county owns physical property, right?
Yes.
So so I know for a fact that we have like a county road. So when things need this is your job, right?
Yes. The courts. What else? Then we have the clerk's office. We have the county clerk's office, surrogate's office, and the sheriff's department. So those are considered constitutional officers. So all those are part of the Somerset County system.
Wow. So, what would you say would be your sort of, I don't know, most proud moments or experiences that you would be able to share with us that lead you from your role of a leader at a county level to being our representative at the federal level?
Great question. There are, I can't pick just one. There are several. And part of when I talked about this being heart work, this is about human rights. This is not about privilege. This is bringing the services to the people and meeting them where they are. Somerset County is one of the most diverse and the richest in the state of New Jersey, richest counties in the state of New Jersey. However, it runs the gamut from those who are underserved populations to those of affluence and influence. And so being able to be of service and be a leader for all people at all times is one of the things I often say as well. And so what brings me to some of the work that I've done that I could say crosswalks into some of the work in DC, some of the hot topics, affordability, right? To me, that encompasses livable wage, not just great paying jobs, but livable wages. The state of New Jersey has phased in $15 an hour minimum wage. There is nothing at the federal level. There's been talks and there's bills that are in progress, I should say, that are talking about $17 an hour and indexing with inflation. But there's nothing concrete. There's nothing there. And so working with the state of New Jersey, being able to provide my residents with livable wages, we've invested in a quality education where our VOTEC, we just did a $20 million plus project expanding the VOTEC school, which allows for 1,000 more students to attend, offering 8 more programmings such as MEAN, which is the mechanical engineering and manufacturing programs. If you think about the labor force or labor market changing after COVID, people were doing more, and all these warehouse sprawl, having some of the manufacturing jobs and allowing people the opportunity to be competitive in those markets, as well as New Jersey being pharma capital of the world. We partnered with Solaris and J&J, and we bought the first workforce center to our community college, which is RVCC, Raritan Valley Community College, the first in the state of New Jersey. And making those investments so that people, again, can compete or be competitive in those different sectors. Mean genome cell therapy, and just so many. But being able to have an opportunity or a pathway for the residents to be able to compete in those jobs. So we've invested in a quality education or access to quality education, access to health care. At the federal level, there's talk of universal health care for all, which would impact in people's lives in lowering prescription costs. Other countries have done it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, but oftentimes we spend billions of dollars fighting wars, fighting other people's wars, and interjecting ourselves into their issues and problems and concerns. Just think of how we could have helped the unhoused or the food insecure if we had reallocated those dollars to helping our citizens here in New Jersey, and let alone in the United States. And so what we've done in Somerset County, we've invested, which we have Richard Hall, which is one of 2 mental health facilities in the state of New Jersey. And we've invested in dental, vision, medical, and now prescription for our residents. And Richard Hall also helps with behavioral mental issues. And as we know, coming out of the pandemic, it's shown a bright light on people dealing with mental health crises. And so we've been on the forefront of being able to take our dollars and appropriate them to where it makes the best sense and most use for residents, regardless of your zip code or your socioeconomic background. We're helping and doing the work of the people. When it comes to housing, at the federal level, they have the Homes for All Act, which is $800 billion over 10 years. But 10 years is a little bit too long. And here in Somerset County, been able to work with agencies such as CJHRC, which is Central Jersey Housing Resource Center, to help people find housing, low to moderate income housing, education, and technical assistance for first-time homeowners. I've personally worked with Habitat for Humanity, and 4 houses in my neighborhood, 2 on my block, if I look out my front door, that I actually helped to the homeowners do sweat equity. I swung a tool or 2 or sanded down some walls. And so that's the work that I've been doing when it comes to housing. And then you talk about environmental justice, social justice. Environmental justice. On the federal side, you have the Green Deal. Climate change is real. You see the flooding happen in New Jersey. These 100-year storms are coming more furious and fast than ever before. Working with the Corps of Engineer and having a seat at the table to talk about the upper basin and lower basin where the flooding comes down through, come off the hills. I wouldn't say mountains, you know. I was stationed in Colorado, so these aren't mountains, but people in New Jersey call them mountains. Coming off these hills and seeing the record number of flooding. There's funding there. They just need to push the project through. So we have a flood mitigation plan, and we're talking about how we can help better service the communities that are negatively impacted by these storms. Infrastructure, we've invested in infrastructure where we've taken some of our cares and I don't want to say AARP. I'm at that age and that stage, but ARPA funding and helping out municipalities who have these $1 million projects and spreading the dollars so that they can invest in infrastructure in their towns. We talk about we've also made the pledge where to get rid of or not be on fossil fuels by 2050. So we've done those things. We've done the work. And then finally, I talk about social justice. After George Floyd's murder, Somerset County. We talked to all the elected officials, the mayors, their business administrators or city managers, and talked about how we can help eradicate or help our constituents that are in need. Sometimes police officers arrive on the scene. People don't always need to be detained. And this is where those wraparound services I talked about, social services, mental health services, come into play. And what we did was we hired a social worker to be embedded in a police department. And we started off with a pilot program in one town. And now we are embedded and invested in 5 towns out of the 21 municipalities in Somerset County. And believe it or not, the Attorney General's program arrived together. The Attorney General's office tapped our first social worker that we hired on the shoulder to come help to develop the New Jersey's Arrive Together program. And so I'm very proud of the work that all of us are doing here in Somerset County to continue to make Somerset County the best place to live, work, play, and visit.
Well, you are clearly a patriot of Somerset County.
I
And
am.
yeah, that really comes across very strongly. I'm really fascinated to hear you talk about that sometimes funding is available, but somehow things don't still happen. Have you had any experience of, and that feels that often happens on the federal level too, that there's a big announcement, a lot of things, oh yes, we're going to do this, and then it somehow gets lost in delivery, or maybe just takes a really long time, or somehow there's not a sense that people are actually getting the help that they need. Is there, in your experiences, that, am I imagining that?
No, you're not. We can take the Gateway Tunnel project as a big example. I mean, it's right on the front pages. It was funded. Just pay the bills. Just allow the project to go to full fruition and manifestation and to the end, to completion. But because you have the power and authority to say you're going to take that money and reallocate it somewhere else, that's not serving the people. And we should not be leading by emotion, by fear, by personal agenda, by your own self-preservation or self-serving, so being of self-service. But we should be leaders for all people at all times. What makes sense? And the military has taught me to stay focused on the vision and the mission. Ego gets checked at the door. Political parties, at the end of the day, all tax dollars, money is green. It doesn't say Republican dollars or Democrat dollars. It's dollars that are supposed to go for the good of the people. A lot of these things we're dealing with, complex issues, conflicting priorities. And as you pointed out, talk about projects, the money getting lost or projects not being completed. If we think about the human right of everything that we do and not the privilege, we can get things done. And we've gotten away from the civility in this space to actually think about the work and be problem solvers and just get stuff done. Because the work is the work, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Do right by the people and get the work done. Do your job. I think Democrats have gotten away from having a backbone, standing up, and speaking out when it really matters. Now, there are people who are great leaders, but they can't do it alone. Even for me being a candidate, I can't do it alone. The work that I talked about previously that we've done in Somerset County, some of my proudest moments, I didn't do that alone. It's the hard work and commitment of the people that understand that the work has to get done. And so I lead with that. I lead with the experiences that were taught to me being in the military. I'm not new to service. I've grown up in a service household. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. My grandfather served in World War II and Korean War. He was POW MIA for 6 months. All of my dad's brothers served in the military. My mother is a minister. My bonus dad is a pastor. And so it's part of not only who I am, but what I do. And I just want to leave this world a better place than what I found it. And I know that might sound cliche-ish, but I'm a divorced mother of three, a grandmother of three. And so this comes about as a sense of urgency and moral authority to do something. And if I could just do something to make other people's lives a little bit better, that's to me what I would want my legacy to be, my service outliving me.
Well, very well said and very well put. Thank you. Speaking of legacy, I happened to watch, and you may have seen it, an interview with Bonnie Watson Coleman, who talked about sort of, this was maybe her announcement why she decided not to run again, and it was really interesting that she said, and I quote, she said, "Congress is hard, period. We have more rules than opportunity to pass legislation." And she seemed kind of heartbroken how hard it is to get anything done, right? And I'm wondering, and you've been shadowing her, what do you think would be the strategies moving forward to clearly the hard work needs to be done? What would you do? How do we start doing things?
Good question. Definitely not giving up on the work that needs to be done, but certainly pushing back. Being able and I've been able to work across the aisle as an elected official. I was the 84th president of NJAC, which is the New Jersey Association of Counties. It's a bipartisan board of county executives and county elected officials. And again, it's about doing the work, checking the ego at the door. We have been able to get a lot of work done just by virtue of coalescing and moving forward around the issues that really impacts everybody. Yeah. So the things at the federal level impacts everybody. Some it may impact more negatively than others, but nonetheless, it changes our lives. And the policies and decisions that are made impacts us for decades. So we may set a policy today, but we're still going to feel the ripple effects of that decision for 10 plus years, the next generation. So we have to really approach it from a standpoint of not just short-sightedness, not just, leaning into, giving into special interest groups. There's a place, time and place for everything, right? But we have to keep the goal in mind of the people. It's for the people, by the people. And continue to put that forward. Me being able to get things done, working and reaching across the aisle, is nothing new to me. Again, in the military, even though I came through an era, don't ask, don't tell. But it was when you were in a foxhole or you were at war, your buddy next to you, it didn't matter if they were black, white, male, or female, what religion they practiced, their socioeconomic background. It was all about the mission and us bringing each other either home alive, getting through whatever the mission was at the time. And we've gotten away from that. How would I say? Even when we're dealing with ICE, we're debating funding, defunding. But if you think about what they're actually doing to people, you talk about the humanity of it all. Does anybody even lead or think about the humanity when they're looking at laws or legislation? I would dare say not as a whole. We have to do better, and we're better than this. And so you need leadership in this district that has a proven track record, that is no stranger to fighting, no stranger to advocating or championing work that where everyone benefits. And so,
Thank you.
you're
Uh,
welcome.
do you have, and I know, I'm sure there are many, many, but I really love that you're saying that if we find a shared goal or shared mission, that bringing people on board, it becomes a possibility, right?
Yes.
And do you have a sense of what, for example, like what are a few main things for you that you could start out uh, by saying, look, these are really important to me, and we're going to get it done. And whether it has to do with maybe immigration, like you just mentioned, or what would be your passionate value that you could bring and say, I really care and we could get together and get this done?
So you talk about universal health care. Again, other countries have done it successfully. Some might disagree, but we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take the plays from their playbook and tweak it how it will work for us. I think because people have led with special interests, placate to those who have affluence, that they end up working for the few and not the many. And so when you can work around a common goal, it breaks down barriers, it breaks down defenses and walls to where people, they don't feel threatened, but realize you're coming from a place of just solving an issue or a problem. You know, we all can benefit. Not looking at it as I'm lining my pockets, or you're taking food out of my family's mouths. But what about the family who don't even know, don't even have food, or don't know where their next meal is coming from? Then you're taking money and food out of their mouths and out of from their families. We can't be selfish about it.
Do you think that we have, I mean, I'm in my lifetime, you think, or I will see universal health care in this country?
Um, I think we're getting closer to universal health care or a public option.
Or public
Um,
option? Mm-hmm.
I think we're closer than what we think we are. Um, we can't just live our lives by headlines, right? And sound bites. Because then the sky is falling and nothing ever happens. So I'm hopefully optimistic that when people rise up together, that things can get done. And I think we're at a pivotal moment where people are angry enough and it's touching everyone's backyard. It's touching everyone's livelihood. And then that's when we come together as a country and we get it done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I truly hope your words you are speaking into existence. That would be amazing. Well, one interesting related question I have for you, and this just because you mentioned that you are a mother of three and a grandmother, I'm wondering. I've when I was pregnant with my first child, I worked in Pennsylvania and lived in New Jersey, and I found out that in Pennsylvania there is no maternity leave.
Oh,
My son is 16, so it may have changed. But when I started researching, there are multiple states in this country that do not have maternity leave, and I
interesting.
couldn't believe it. I was just like, wait a minute, wait a minute. The United States of America,
Yeah.
the most advanced country in the world, does not have maternity leave as a countrywide policy, and uh, I I'm still mystified at this.
Because again, we're leading by special interest groups, people lining their pockets. Um, it may not be beneficial for those who are leading those states because maybe money is coming out of their pockets because of a business or a partnership they have. And so when they say follow the money, follow the money. And I found that sometimes the money is like this. It's in the same circles. Um, and so we have to do better. And again, it's we can't do it alone. I can tell you, being an elected official, there are times when people want me to do things. But if I turn around and you're not there helping me help you, then those who can help move the needle, they look at it as like, who's with you? And oftentimes it's transactional. And that's not the way that we should run our country. You know, again, we're talking about human lives, human rights, not privileges. And if we can, stay focused on what it means for the people, you can never be on the wrong side of right. It is challenging, not impossible, but challenging. And I look at challenges as opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk about sort of slightly larger issues that, of course, you would be in Congress working for us as New Jerseyans, but it would also work the other way, that you're representing us to the rest of the world, and as our, bringing our values to Washington, D.C. And what do you think about sort of the wider world issues? What should we be doing different? What should we be doing the same? Is there anything kind of how we relate to the rest of the world that you find important?
I think how we show up for ourselves and the perception and or our outward looking or outward facing to other countries, those that we had great relationships with, allies, NATO, peace treaties. Where are we now with all of those? So building relationships to be able to help one another when and where it makes sense. One of the biggest issues, if you want to talk about some of the world issues, what's happened in Gaza, Israel, or Gaza, Palestine. People forgot about the human element of it. Whether you agree that it's genocide or not, lives have been torn apart. People have died. So where's the pathway to humanitarian aid? Where is the compassion for a human life? But how we show up for ourselves and how we show up for others in the world matters. Some of those bigger issues are more complex. It's just going to take time. But we have to put in the work, and you have to have leaders who are willing to put in the work. Look, all of it is not going. It didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to be solved or resolved overnight. It's about working with leaders across the globe, across the aisle, to really sit down and prioritize some of these issues. What makes sense? When you eat your food, it's one bite at a time. You don't take the plate and just dump it in your mouth and that's it. So I like to use analogies or metaphors. So it's the same way. It's going to take time, but you have to have leaders who are willing to do the work. Leaders who are willing to, I don't want to say compromise, but yes, fight, advocate, champion for what the people want. And again, it's not about being self-serving.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're really centering the human part and trying to make decisions around that and bringing leadership that thinks about that. And speaking of leadership and growing new leaders, do you have thoughts on education? Kind of a transition, right? So obviously you believe very strongly in your educational background and your experience. How do we need to do anything different with our educational system? Is it where does are we talking about more federal level regulation or role, or is it education a local issue?
I think it's both. It's not or. I think it's both. So you're talking about pre-K or, universal pre-K. So kindergarten, some places don't even have full day. It may be half day. Some have no option for pre-K at all. In the society that we're living in now, I think the socialization piece is missing for the much younger generations. They're so tech savvy and into technology and these alter worlds, that the reality and build character building is lost, or the social skills are just not there. And so having a system and a pathway for people to be successful, we have to invest in our own people. Now, everybody is not going to be on a college track. And I often tell my kids, I'll be proud of you whether you go to college or not. My kids are older. They're 30 plus. So as long as you have a life plan, and again, as I spoke about earlier, how labor force and the labor market is changing, certifications, apprenticeship, working with labor unions to bolster up our workforce and our workers. That's what we have to look at. And how do we help someone on a path, not as a hand out, but a hand up? I often talk about, I took the scenic route, education, and, for me, that was my safe space because as a kid, that's the only thing I could control was my grades, my education, and I came up through an era, do as what your parents tell you to do. Your voice is muted because you just followed what your parents told you to do. Kids nowadays, they're very vocal. They are from an era where they communicate differently, they organize differently. They have access to technology where they can siphon through or filter through misinformation and disinformation much more quickly than I did coming up. And you just offer people an opportunity to help themselves and have a better life. Isn't that what the American dream is all about?
I hope so. I hope so. Do you see, especially as it relates to kids, but in general, the role of technology? How you mentioned that kids are able to sift through and understand, whether it's information or misinformation. Do you think is there a role for the government to be played in this arena?
Hmm.
As a parent of high school students.
I think this is one of those areas where sometimes government can be overreaching. Um, and I think the society has, how would I say, built us to a level where they're with their friends and their teachers and left to technology and their own vices more than that quality family time. It was like everybody ate dinner at the same time when I was growing up. And you sat around a dining room table, you sat around the dinner table, you talked, you shared. People are off on their devices. You can be in a restaurant, and I've done this where I put my phone down and just kind of watch the people around me. And you can have a family of four, and everybody's on their device. They're not in conversation. And so, I mean, I think government is just overreaching, and it doesn't have to be or. I think it has to be both, local and at the federal level. Um, as we saw the dismantling of the Department of Education with no plan to actually take care of the stuff that the Department of Education was responsible and had oversight of. So you can't just take away things without having a plan to really have a net for those that are part of that system or that agency. Now what? You just pull the floor from under them? Not the rug, the floor. And then just free falling. And there goes the country. Free falling. Or it becomes a free for all.
Goodness, goodness. Yeah. So as we're coming around to kind of the end of our conversation, was there something that I didn't ask or that is really important for you that you want people to know that we didn't get to talk about yet?
Um, I just, I don't know how far reaching your podcast goes, but, certainly to the people of the 12th district, this is not the time to send someone to Washington for on-the-job training. This is an opportunity for us to get it right and send someone that has a proven track record, that is visible, present, and accessible to and for the people, that understands what it takes to champion and advocate for them in DC. It is challenging. It's not what you said. Bonnie said it's hard at this time. It's challenging. But we've been here before as a country, and we are resilient. But if we continue down this path, that resiliency may become a hard turn instead of a shift. And I don't know if people have the bandwidth mentally, emotionally, or financially to sustain the way our country is going now.
Yeah. Well, I must say I'm very grateful for the service that you're doing and for the opportunity to speak with you and hear your thoughts and ideas.
Thank you, Marina.
And I'm so grateful for everybody to be participating in this democracy, right?
Yep.
With so many great candidates, and it's going to be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's part of the work.